everybody and welcome back to the Bourbon Bar. I'm Holden and today I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys what I think are going to be the top whiskeys of 2023. That's right guys, I am going to predict the whiskey of the year 2023. Now, to get started, I'm going to be listing off a couple different ones. I think probably a good number is 5. I'm going to give you guys the top 5 whiskeys I think are going to be on the highest of lists this year. I think that a lot of these whiskeys that I'm going to be listing are going to be number 1 for some YouTubers, and even maybe number 1 for me might be on this list. But that being said, let's go ahead and get to bottle number 1. Alright guys, starting off with number 1 on our list, and that's going to be Woodford Reserve Batch Proof. This is the 124.7, which is the batch proof of this year. This won Whiskey of the Year for me last year, so of course I do think it has a very good shot of winning again this year. This batch, while I don't think it's quite as good as last year's batch was, it is really good whiskey, and so far this year is some of the best whiskey I have bought. So that being said, I really think that Woodford Batch Proof has another shot this year. There's a lot of good stuff that's yet to come out this year, and honestly, there's a lot of stuff that I probably won't get my hands on, but in terms of like whiskeys that I'm looking forward to seeing in the top 5 at the end of the year in the top lines, I'm really thinking that this one is going to pull some pretty good stops. Alright, so number 2 on the list is actually one that I don't have personally on my shelf, but one that I really tried hard to find. This one I think a lot of people really enjoyed, and that's going to be the Jack Daniel's Double Barreled Rye. I know that a lot of people have gotten this one, and a lot of people say it's fantastic. And honestly, it's not the only Jack Daniel's Rye that's probably going to have a chance in the list this year. I'm not going to make 2 separate entries, but I think between the Jack Daniel's Double Barreled Rye and the Jack Daniel's Barrel Strength Rye single barrels that they're putting out, I think that the Jack Daniel's Ryes this year have been coming in hot. I think for whiskeys of the year, Jack Daniel's Rye has a good chance, whether it's going to be the Double Barrel Rye or the Barrel Strength Rye. One of the two, I think, have a really good chance of ending up at the top of someone's list. Because if we look into the past, Jack Daniel's Barrel Strength Rye, one of the limited releases a couple years ago, did quite well in all these blinds and stuff and all these end of the year things. So I think this year it has a chance again, especially with all the whiskeys that have come out so far. I don't think there's one that got quite as much hype as Jack Daniel's Rye. Moving on to number 3 on our list. Number 3 is one that has been around for a while, but I just got this year, and they are still putting out new batches every year. So a new batch of this could definitely qualify to be Whiskey of the Year this year. And that batch, that bottle, is going to be Russell's Reserve 13. The elusive Russell's Reserve 13, I think, great whiskey. Honestly, I haven't even really drank much of it. I really should have another nip. It's been a while. But I think in the end of the year blinds, this thing is going to kick some serious butt. Coming in at 114.8 proof, this thing has got all the flavor that you need in an end of the year type whiskey to win Whiskey of the Year. And it's got the name, the allocation, the price tag. Everything about it screams this could be a winner for Whiskey of the Year. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys see a good old Russell's 13 on the list. Number 4 on this list is going to be one that I really don't think I searched very hard for. In fact, I didn't even buy this bottle for myself. But it is one that after I got it, or once I had the opportunity to buy it, I was really ecstatic to try. And then when I did try it, I was really blown away by how good it was. And that bottle is going to be Baker's 13-year-old single barrel. This Baker's 13-year-old single barrel is 13 years old. Obviously, I've said that a few times now. 107 proof, and it's a single barrel, so everyone's going to be different. But the thing about this Baker's 13 is it kind of strays away from the old Jim Beam profile. That high-age Jim Beam kind of gives it this like nice, deep, rich, fruity note and oakness that I think is going to do very well. I think in a blind, this will stand up extremely well against a lot of other whiskeys. It's got decent proof, great age, and a lot of good rounded flavors. So sticking to that 13-year-old age statement like the Russell's 13, I think Baker's 13 has a really good chance of making it all the way. Now, this is something I think they put out every year. I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, I didn't really hear much about Baker's 13 before I bought it. But I will be putting a video on it, a review on it soon, probably within the next week or so. So if you guys want to go ahead and look forward to that, that'll be coming out very soon. But overall, this Baker's 13 is killer, and I'm not going to be surprised if it ends up at the top of the Whiskey of the Year list. Now, before we go ahead and get on to the last whiskey on this list for what I think could be the Whiskey of the Year, let's go ahead and give some honorable mentions. But before the honorable mentions, I'd like for you guys to please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, think about doing so. Now, moving on to honorable mentions, guys, I think there's a lot of great whiskeys that have already come out so far this year. I think that the Penelope Rio, for instance, it was a very sought-after one. And I just tried it for the first time on a live stream last night. And it's absolutely wild. It's a crazy whiskey, and it's very, very good. I think in the end of the year, that one could be a silent killer. Also, I'm really thinking that the Maker's Mark BEP, they just put this out this year. I think this is fantastic. I think it's killing it. I think it's going to crush. Last year, I think the BRTO2 worked its way up very far into the top 25 list for me. I think it was like number 6 or something crazy, and it did really, really well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see BEP up there as well. It has a very good chance. Also, 2 other whiskeys would be like the Shanks and Bombergers. Both of those are very good. I just got my first ones ever this year, and I think that they're really good whiskeys. I don't know if they'll be able to hold up to some of these other caliber whiskeys that are going to be in the list, but I definitely think they're going to be in there in the top 10 list. I think they're fantastic. But let's go ahead and get into the last bottle on the list. Now, this last bottle on the list, I think, is probably going to make it's going to make every top 10 list. Anyone who's had this whiskey, I think is probably going to put it in the top 10 list, and I haven't even had it yet. This is merely speculation. I am merely predicting what's going to happen. But if what I've seen is correct, the number 1 whiskey that I think is going to be on all of the Whiskey of the Year lists, if not be the Whiskey of the Year, is going to be the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. Now, Maker's Mark Cellar Aged, it's got some hype around it, that's for sure. The biggest bummer for me is I won't be able to get one. I've talked to a few stores in the area, and turns out the distributor will not sell it to any liquor stores in Green Bay. And you guys could not know how devastated I am to hear this, because Maker's Mark Cellar Aged was one of the ones that I wanted so bad. But according to all the stores in Green Bay, the distributor told them they will not be selling to any stores. They will only be selling to restaurants and bars in the Green Bay area. Unfortunately, I'm not traveler. I'm not going to be going to other places in Wisconsin to find this. It's not something that I can just trip and find upon at some point. If one of you guys could find one for me, I would gladly pay for it, because I really want that bottle, but I just don't think I'm going to find it. However, the amount of hype behind it, the amount of people saying how amazing it is, really amazing palates, with the likes of Fred Minnick and Matt Porter and ADHD Whiskey, all those guys all really enjoyed it. And if people with palates like that are talking about it the way they're talking about it, then it must be incredibly good whiskey. I can't even imagine how great it is. But it's another thing. It could be the hype train. It could just be like, a couple people said it was good. A lot of people are going to think it's great. All I got to say is, I wouldn't be surprised if that made a couple people's top 10 or Whiskey of the Year lists. For sure, I think it'll be in almost every top 10 list. And I think for Whiskey of the Year, that one, it has a good chance to take the cake. Now, that's the end of this video, guys. None of this video, if you guys haven't noticed, includes any Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, no Pappy Van Winkles, none of that kind of stuff, because we're not about that. We're not trying to give you guys a tater list. Obviously, those are going to be good whiskeys. I think those whiskeys will be very high up in a lot of lists, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to let you guys know of the whiskeys that maybe are a little bit different that could be the Whiskey of the Year. That being said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you guys are hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Please leave a comment. Let me know if there's any whiskeys that you guys have tried that you think are well deserving to be called Whiskey of the Year so far, or if you just guys have predictions of what you think Whiskey of the Year is going to be. I'd love to hear your opinions. That being said, we'll see you all in the next class.